Soon, PS4 Pro will no longer offer the best console experience of Shadow of War. It's currently the highest resolution version besides PC at a native res of around 1620p and with visual upgrades over base PS4 too, like enhanced shadow and geometry draw distance. But as I've covered in a recent analysis, it's still far from perfect. Some textures on PS4 Pro remain stuck at the same muddy quality setting as a standard PS4 or Xbox One. Even patching to version 1.04 doesn't help it, and we're left with these glaring low resolution assets. The problem is, it doesn't sit well with PS4 Pro's 4K promise at all. PC's 4K texture pack would have done wonders here, if not for the huge RAM demands it puts on the system. Coming to the rescue then is the Xbox One X version, which is what you see here running at 4K. This footage is captured at a recent Microsoft event, giving access to several missions a bit further into the game. The team is keen to stress this Xbox One X build dates back to Gamescom and isn't representative of the final code. Even so, what sticks out right away is that texture problem on PS4 Pro is completely eradicated. By brute force of the machine's 12GB of GDDR5 memory, at last we have PC's top grade textures on console. Put into example, ground textures get a clear resolution bump from the soup-like results on Pro to a sharper, clearer asset on Xbox One X. It's something I'd hope to see on the standard PS4 and Xbox One, given the inconsistency of textures across those versions. On a 4K set, it's an essential addition to the package though. With the higher pixel counts on PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, it's something of a necessity, and one entirely missing on Sony's console. And as it happens, it's one of the most substantial upgrades I've seen in a comparison of the two machines so far. It's worth noting Xbox One X has a familiar visual settings menu to PS4 Pro, though with one extra I'll cover in a minute. Here you get a quality mode that prioritizes better visual settings like draw distance, but also a resolution mode that prioritizes a native 4K image. More on the actual numbers in a second, but it's worth pointing out you get better textures than PS4 Pro regardless of which mode you choose. On quality mode, you get the best asset possible on Xbox One X, while the resolution mode uses lower quality texture filtering, blurring the ground slightly despite using the same texture setting. Compared to PS4 Pro's texture work on its quality mode, which is the same as resolution mode, these still both trump it in sheer clarity though. It's a huge difference. So that's problem solved. Whether it's quality or resolution mode, you still get the benefit of improved ambient occlusion and texture filtering over a standard Xbox One. Still, there are other visual upgrades that set these two modes apart, and much like PS4 Pro, Xbox One X gets a big boost in draw distance if you opt for the quality setting. An overview of a castle during a siege, for example, shows more shadow detail and geometry rendered in from range. It prevents the pop-in you might see on other machines, and the world just feels more cohesive as a result. For a PS4 Pro versus Xbox One X visual comparison, it makes sense to use the quality settings on either side. Subtle as it may be, it's evident Microsoft's machine does get even better draw distance settings overall on mountainside geometry and small objects, over and above PS4 Pro's existing enhancements. It's a small improvement, nothing on the scale of the texture upgrades, but another advantage that shows Xbox One X veering close to PC's best presets. There will be more in-depth visual comparisons down the line, including PC, once I have the final code to hand, but between the high-grade textures and pushed out level of detail settings, it's a respectable upgrade over PS4 Pro, and it doesn't stop there. Comparing PS4 Pro's 4.2 teraflop GPU to Xbox One X's 6 teraflop chip qualifies it for a crucial upgrade in native resolution, bringing it much closer to a true 4K. In summary, you get two modes with two different set resolutions. On top of that, there's a new toggle on Xbox One X to enable dynamic resolution, which is what PS4 Pro uses by default. Assuming that toggle is disabled here, what you get in quality mode is a native res of 3520 by 1980. That's 1980p fixed on Xbox One X, or very close to it, bringing an already huge leap in image quality over the PS4 Pro's 2880 by 1620 output. Considering it's an additional 50% extra in pixels output compared to Sony's hardware, and it makes sense. It's almost a linear scale in resolution with the teraflop profile of each machine. Based on this Gamescom build, Xbox One X's resolution mode bears mention too if you want a true 4K. From what I've tested, you get a native 3840 by 2160 this way, fixed at that number as long as the dynamic res checkbox is left blank. The machine forces its maximum resolution this way, but at the cost of texture and LOD quality we have on the quality mode, it's maybe not the best way to go. For my money, it's a sharper picture, but conversely, I did end up preferring to play with better settings on the other mode. To get the best of both worlds, Xbox One X has a dynamic resolution option. Whether it's the native 1980p in quality mode or 2160p in resolution mode, this gives the engine leeway either side of those numbers to adjust resolution based on rendering load. So for example, quality mode with this checkbox selected can drop the pixel count to 3360 by 1890, the lowest point I've measured so far. For reference, that's still higher than PS4 Pro's lowest measurement of 1512p in quality mode. Unlike Sony's machine though, it's capable of hitting a true native 4K on Xbox One X in the best case, provided not much is happening on screen. It's an awesome feature, and having quality with dynamic res engaged means you get all the visual bells and whistles, plus a genuine 4K picture on the occasions it's possible. Even when it can't, it's close enough most of the time to convince on an Ultra HD TV set. Having this checkbox selected on Xbox One X's resolution mode, meanwhile, isn't quite as revolutionary. You get a lower bounds of around 3584 by 2016 wherever it senses performance is about to take a hit, while the upper bound stays at 3840 by 2160. Oh, and to top it off, all these numbers super sample down to a 1080p set if you haven't made the upgrade to 4K yet. Which brings us on to performance. Even though it's early code, this Xbox One X build runs almost flawlessly for regular missions at a straight 30 FPS, regardless of rendering mode. Here's quality mode with dynamic res selected as an example, during the alpha intensive Kanan's Bane mission. Even with lots of fire effects engulfing the screen, I just couldn't pull that line below 30 FPS in a typical mission. It's looking really good as is, and in line with existing console frame rates here. Yes, 60 FPS is still a boast for PC users, and clearly Monolith Productions prioritizes 4K support over higher frame rates. We have no choice on the matter here, as much as it'd be nice to see how far Xbox One X could be pushed with an unlocked frame rate. Fortunately, we still get a solid return on Xbox One X at a half refresh for the most part, even if there is one exceptional area in this build. The Gasgore Siege is one example, a large-scale battle that buckles Xbox One X's performance to around the low 20s. It's a mission with a surplus of enemies and effects, and the bottleneck applies whether you're on quality or resolution mode. As a stress test, it's fascinating to see the adaptive VSync being reused here, causing some occasional screen tear. Also curious is that the quality mode, with dynamic resolution selected in this case, appears to push Xbox One X harder compared to the resolution mode with dynamic res disabled, creating a divide of 2 to 3 frames per second in matching scenes. Again, it's worth stressing this is still early code from months past, and things could change come release. For the rest of the package, it's a solid 30 FPS, and this area will be worth revisiting in the final code. Shadow of War gives us a prime early example of why Xbox One X's specs are so on point for running games at 4K. The sense is that a higher pixel count alone isn't enough. More importantly, this console has the extra memory resource to give those pixels more to show off, better textures and improved LODs. In the case of Shadow of War at least, Microsoft has put together the right hardware for the job, and it's great to see more visual options make it into the menus as well. Now, Monolith's approach to 4K textures won't apply to every game. At the start of the generation, 8GB of GDDR5 RAM seemed almost overkill for Sony's console, but with the adoption of Ultra HD TVs and based on this evidence, it's possible Xbox One X's 12GB is a good case of forward thinking. Everything will come down to how each developer responds to the hardware at hand, of course. Whether it's a sign of how all future game comparisons will play out against PS4 Pro, we'll have to wait and see. That's about all I have time for though. If you did enjoy watching this video, do like and subscribe to see more Xbox One X content very soon. And being a 4K video, it's well worth checking out our Patreon at digitalfoundry.net to see all our videos at source file quality. That's all from me though, thanks for watching.
Devour sauce.